All right, it is time for the weather model discussion, behind the scenes look at how we're putting together the forecast of the day for this April 19th, 2023. How's it going, everyone? William Cole here in the Storm Studio. Again, this is a little bit of a different perspective of the forecast. We're not going to show you necessarily the pretty graphics that we use on the air, but we're going to show you the raw data that we've been sifting through as we've been putting together the forecast of the day, again, specifically for the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and, of course, North Texas as well. So a lot going on. We do have an opportunity of maybe a severe storm or two later today in our western counties. Probably not going to happen. We'll talk about that. And then a more likely opportunity of rain, storms, and severe weather as we get into tomorrow, Thursday, truly all across the area. So again, important details with that coming up. Again, we put this typically on our social media. This isn't something we put on the air. So again, if you are seeing it, for example, on YouTube, Facebook, or on Instagram, feel free to give it a like. And again, feel free to leave a comment if you want below as well. So let's go and just dive right into this. Again, first of all, looking from Reunion Tower, live cam here at downtown Dallas in 4K, really looking good. Again, all the low gray cloud cover we had earlier this morning, it's burnt off. We've got some mid-level cloud cover out there, partly to mostly cloudy. Here's kind of a different perspective. Again, still looking at downtown Dallas, and you can see it, so I would call it more in the way of mostly cloudy now as we're heading deeper into the afternoon. We're essentially dry though. Temperatures out there, depending on where you are, it's anywhere from, we'll call it mild, like up around the Paris, Texas area, again off to the northeast, 73, and cloudier up there. Humidity a little bit thicker over there, and where the humidity is a little bit less, near a dry line that is now moving into our far western counties, more in the way of sun out there this afternoon as well. Look at the Breckenridge area. They've now jumped to 90 here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We're basically in between that, anywhere from 81 here at Dallas Love Field to right around 83 over on the Fort Worth side of town. Okay, from there, let's go and jump on into this. And this is truly what we like to look at, right? We like to look at the raw data. And what we're doing here is we're going to the SPC mesoanalysis page. This is the upper air look. And whenever we begin to piece together the forecast of the day, this is where we like to start, right? Because we need to know the overall pattern, and then everything basically sets up off of that. Okay, so as we look at this, number one, the thing that's really probably sticking out is the big storm trough. The Northeast, a big powerhouse storm system that came in earlier this week up in the Pacific Northwest. It's now beginning to slowly pull out into parts of the Great Plains. It will be pushing a cold front here in North Texas through the area tomorrow, Thursday. And that cold front, as it moves through, will be the trigger of what appears to be now more widespread thunderstorm activity, and even the opportunity of widespread severe weather tomorrow as well. So we'll talk more about that coming up. Elsewhere, again, behind this, really just kind of off, you really can't see it because it's almost off screen. There is a little lobe of energy that's out across parts of the California Baja. The only reason why I mentioned that, obviously, the big storm trough coming out, that's going to be our main storm, giving us a dry line today, giving us a cold front tomorrow, but on Sunday there'll be a little lobe that finally comes through. There may be a few showers on Sunday. It's looking a little more likely as well. So in the near term, those are essentially our rain opportunities there embedded within the flow. Okay, from there, what I want to do, because again, like I mentioned, we do have a dry line out there today. And again, if you're new to North Texas or you're not exactly sure what a dry line is, let me go and show you. And this is what I want to do. Just bear with me while I'm kind of working through the SPC webpage. A dry line basically separates, again, moist air, Gulf of Mexico moisture, kind of how it feels if you've been outdoors at all today locally here in the Metroplex, warm and humid, from bone dry desert air, right? The bone dry desert air, we're talking about humidity values maybe like in the single digits. That dry of air. And so you get really the contrast between both of those. And the reason why you get it just quickly, again, in one area you have a southerly or a southeasterly wind backing towards the Gulf of Mexico, moving in, or what we call vecting in the moisture. On the other side of the dry line, you either have a westerly or a southwesterly wind pulling in, again, the dry air from West Texas or the high plains of eastern New Mexico, right? Where that comes together, that's where the dry line forms. And again, sometimes you can get thunderstorms to develop off the dry line. If you have pieces of the jet stream energizing it, sometimes it becomes a little more likely. Today here locally, In North Texas, we have a very small piece of jet stream energy, but by and large, we don't have as much support as our neighbors to the north up in Oklahoma or even further off to the north. So we're just kind of on the trailing edge of it. There's kind of been this outside opportunity that maybe we get a thunderstorm to develop, but it's not looking as likely here in North Texas, but it is looking more likely up in Oklahoma now. So again, you can kind of see that dividing line. And if you look carefully at these wind barbs, notice how the wind barbs are backed again for most of Texas to the southeast, again pulling in that Gulf of Mexico moisture. And then notice on the other side of the dry line, it's a southwesterly flow. You see that? So again, you just have the contrast in air mass, and where it meets, that's where you get that dry line, okay? So important, it's important through the spring because, 50% of our spring severe weather, maybe even 60%, we'll be talking about a dry line opportunity somewhere in the area. Okay, so we've got the dry line out there. I'm going to show you the model data coming up here momentarily. The latest runs are now hinting at maybe some thunderstorm development up in Oklahoma. We'll probably have a couple what we call updraft attempts here locally in North Texas, but we've got a cap. The cap is going to be weakening, which is a warm layer of air above the surface. As the updrafts go up, they hit it and they stall, right? Or sometimes we're able to break through it, or sometimes the cap weakens and eventually the updrafts just go up. But in our situation, we also have a layer of dry air there as well. And so it's hitting the cap, it's hitting the dry air, and updrafts are not most likely going to have much success here locally in North Texas, okay? So we'll talk about that kind of lower end opportunity of maybe a storm or two coming up, but that's kind of the thinking behind the forecast today. Otherwise, across most of the area, it's quiet, it's humid, it's windy ahead of that approaching storm system we were just talking about. But outside of that, it's a pretty quiet weather day here across most of the area. So from there, let's come over to the satellite review. And let me see if I can zoom this in. I may not be able to. That may just be the best look that we have. And if you look carefully at this, you can now actually see at the mid-levels. Can you see the way that the cloud cover there is moving and kind of streaking? That's the jet stream beginning to arrive, right? So higher, faster flow, if you will, in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. What you're seeing over here mainly is that low-gray stratus cloud cover. It's shifted off to the east. And if you look carefully, it looks like little measles. See the little bitty white dots beginning to develop across parts of a far northern and northwestern North Texas. Those are cumulus clouds now developing, bubbling along that dry line. But notice which way they're moving, right? They're moving quickly off to the northeast up in Oklahoma. But again, up and down the dry line, you're going to see those little white measles bubbling up, cumulus clouds, or what we call, again, those updraft attempts going up. But again, by and large, the better opportunity of anything actually happening as far as developing an actual thunderstorm, the way it looks, will be up in Oklahoma. And again, I'll show you that on the model coming up. Okay, so from there, let's go and look at our convective outlook for today. We've got to rush through this just a little bit. Right now it's about 3:48, and we've got a real weather we've got to do on the air coming up here at just about 4 o'clock. So, all right, so for today, again, you can see the Storm Prediction Center. They're also now highlighting that area just to our north, a slight risk mainly up in Oklahoma. That's where it's going to be a little more favorable to potentially get some activity to develop. And I say activity, really it's supercells. If anything develops off the dry line today, it's going to be a supercell. Big hail is going to be the primary threat, up to golf balls, maybe even a little bit larger. And again, then you can see kind of a separate part of this system closer to the area of low pressure, surface low, what we call a triple point, well off to our north, up across parts of Nebraska, and even into parts of the Corn Belt. That's where we do have that enhanced risk, a better opportunity of again, severe weather up there. Okay, so from there, let's go and skip to tomorrow. And again, Storm Prediction Center still has a slight risk across most of North Texas. And again, for tomorrow, it's mainly a hail and wind threat, but again, an isolated brief spin-up type tornado warning can't be ruled out tomorrow, right? So really all hazards tomorrow. It's not a classic supercell hook tornadic type day, but again, could we have a tornado warning or two? Not impossible, but tomorrow the bigger threat, larger hail, and it is damaging. To be at work tomorrow. Again, this will be again from 2 p.m. on the afternoon into the evening. Think about your vehicle, right? Think about big hail, and again, think about your vehicle. In fact, we'll just quickly look at the probabilities. And yeah, the Storm Prediction Center, they've got now that black hatched zone. And again, that's for large hail, including North Texas. To me, it really looks like the biggest concern tomorrow, it is going to be hail. It's a low end 2% probability of a tornado warning. Like I mentioned, it just can't be ruled out. My big concern tomorrow would be hail, and it really should be your concern. Again, if your car is going to be parked outdoors at all, no guarantee you're going to have a hailstorm, but again, you know, safe is better than sorry. Friday, all this activity clears out, and then eventually it's going to set us up as the front moves through for a cooler weekend. We're talking about highs this weekend only in the 60s, and also much drier, much less humid through the weekend as well. Okay, let's do this. We're switching over to the model. Now I can give you more of a zoomed in view. Okay, and so what we're doing is we're going over to the HER model. This is our high resolution rapid refresh model. And again, first of all, I just want to look at today. Again, this is going to take us out over the next 18 hours. In fact, we hit it just right. This will take us out. It's the latest run, but this one goes out 48 hours. So this is a HER, what we call X run, extended run. But what we're truly looking for right now is just in the near term. And again, the latest run here, you can see up in Oklahoma, you can see a couple of those updraft attempts. Looks like we're probably going to get a thunderstorm or two. Again, you have to look carefully up in Oklahoma. And again, any of that could be supercellular, right? So as we're looking at this, it's this activity up here that I'm talking about, right? Obviously, North Texas, the Metroplex being back down in here. We're looking kind of out in this area where the dry line is. Are we seeing anything develop in our area? And again, right now with the very latest data coming in, let me roll you back through this. The answer is no. Right? Even up in Oklahoma, it's looking a little bit spottier. About 2 hours ago, the data, the same model, the HER, rapid refresh model, was pretty bullish about in southwestern Oklahoma trying to develop some activity. So in these situations where you have a decent cap, you have some dry air aloft, sometimes even though the model may not necessarily be depicting it, it's still never really necessarily a 0% probability, right? So for us, even though it's maybe a 10 or 20% probability, for our friends out to the west, we're still going to be monitoring that carefully, because if we were able to get an updraft to go and we get a thunderstorm to develop, again, the opportunity of large hail would be there, right? And it can go from 0 to 100, you know, in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes, right, in this environment. So we still got to watch it. This is definitely not, it is not going to happen. But again, the probabilities of this happening are fairly low, just a little bit better up in Oklahoma. Okay, so overnight tonight, we're relatively quiet. I'm going to fast forward now all the way through tomorrow by about 2 p.m. Again, as the cold front begins to move in from the north. And here we go. You can see the little green line. There's the front moving in. And look what happens. This is by 2 p.m., 3 p.m. Thunderstorms rapidly going up from the Metroplex off to the northeast. Any of those could be severe. And then look at that. As we continue to go forward in time, 3, 4, 5 p.m., look at those line segments developing. And again, the primary concern right there, it is hail, it is wind. Again, an isolated tornado warning or two can't be ruled out. The front's going to be moving pretty slow, so this activity is also going to be kind of propagating through the area fairly slowly as well. You can see the further to the south it gets, the coverage expands, right? The area of rain and thunderstorm activity expands, and so even the opportunity, especially in our southern counties, of localized flooding, it's not impossible, right? So we're going to have some pretty hefty rainfall rates tomorrow as well. But again, you can see the latest data now by right around midnight, heading into early Friday morning. There goes all the activity. We basically clear it out. And Friday, even though we've kind of had this lingering 20% probability, for Friday I've basically taken it out. Friday, we're going to begin to clear the skies, and the temperatures will begin to ease down as we get that northerly wind to kick in, right? So that's it. I mean, it's basically going to be a one-hit wonder as that front moves through. But again, any of this activity tomorrow, again, could be, you know, quite severe. Again, it's linear, right? It's a line. So we're not talking about, you know, broken supercells. We're not talking about hooks, but we are talking about a real deal health threat. And I think that's pretty important, especially we're talking about work hours. Again, folks are at work, again, thinking about your car, even thinking about your patio furniture. We're heading into spring. A lot of folks got new patio furniture, you know, things like that. You know, you may want to secure it, bring it in, make sure it doesn't get torn up, right, on the first, you know, big storm of April that's moving through. Okay, so from there, what I want to do is I want to come over and actually just look at the temperature forecast, only for the fact we've really got to go here, and I've got to back this up just one. And let me go ahead and give you the different zoom here. And so this is the blend of models, right? This is the data here from NCEPS from the National Weather Service, pulling in all the different model types, including the high-res data, plugging it together, and then spitting out the output. This is what I like to forecast off of as far as the temperatures go, right? So for tomorrow, right around 81. Again, that temperature will be dropping again as thunderstorms become, in progress as we go through the day. But again, daytime high right around 81 sounds about right. A little bit milder as we get into Friday, even into Saturday. Saturday, the data here is still showing 73. I've got 69 on Friday. I think the temperatures are going to ease down even beginning on Saturday. Look at your Sunday. 61. Part of that has to do with clouds that are going to be moving through. That next little lobe of energy comes through on Sunday. There could be some scattered showers around, so cooler, cloudier. Again, a few showers around on Sunday. So Sunday looks a little unsettled. If you're making outdoor plans, I would probably try and do it on Saturday. Even on Monday, again, still looking a little cooler. And then as we get into next week, it looks unsettled, almost daily opportunities of rain and storms, but it's this 20 and 30% opportunity, right? The jet stream is going to be coming in from the northwest, and in that type of flow, we can get little impulses embedded within that. Again, a few folks may see some rain and storms. A lot of us stay dry. It's just kind of that quiet but unsettled pattern as we get into next week. But temperatures, again, right about where we should be, with generally mid-70s for daytime highs. And again, you can see overnight lows mid to mid-upper 50s as we get into next week as well. So overall, again, some impactful weather, mainly tomorrow. But again, outside of that, especially for this time of year, right, as we're heading deeper in April, middle to almost the end of April by the time we're done with this, looking out 10 days, it's pretty quiet. I mean, honestly, yes, we've got an opportunity of severe weather tomorrow, but again, keep in mind, climatologically speaking, April in North Texas, number one, it's our biggest tornado month of the entire year. And this right here, you just heard the little alarm go off. That's from the Storm Prediction Center. And this is a mesoscale discussion. And so part of it was when they highlighted it, it's mainly for up in Oklahoma, but they did highlight part of North Texas. And what they're saying here, and again, just because I'm pulling it up right now, they send these out before they issue a watch, right? Or when they're thinking about issuing a watch. And in this situation, I'm just trying to get the cursor on the right screen here. For up in Oklahoma, they're giving this a 60% probability of a watch being issued. Like I mentioned, they circled part of North Texas, western North Texas in this. More than likely what happens in these situations, if they do decide to issue a watch, they're going to get the Weather Service from Norman, which is their coverage area, and then also the Weather Service in Fort Worth on the phone. They'll talk about it, and if it really looks like there's just not much of an opportunity of any thunderstorm activity in the Fort Worth coverage area, right, in our area of North Texas, then most likely they'll say, now let's go and pass on the watch, and they'll just go ahead and dial it in up in Oklahoma. It's not a lock, but 60% is a more than likely opportunity that, again, they may do that. The discussion on here saying it's a conditional severe weather threat, so basically they're just kind of, they're monitoring it carefully, but again, there may be a watch that, again, is issued what appears to be up in Oklahoma. So again, just quickly, when you heard that go off, I wanted to tell you what was going on there as well. So that's where we are, folks. Again, like I mentioned, we've got to get on over and start getting our real weather going. Again, thanks for watching our weather model discussion. Again, feel free to give us a comment, a like if you're seeing this on social media. And again, otherwise, we'll try and do another one of these tomorrow. Otherwise, thanks for watching. And again, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday afternoon.